Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to the show. My name is Jared Lee, and I'm joined, as usual, by my lovely wife, Jamie Lee. So, Jamie, how you doing?
I'm doing well, Jared. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. Hopefully, it's been a while since we've had an episode. By a while, I mean a week. We didn't have one last week because of Thanksgiving. So, hopefully, everybody had a nice Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
We didn't do turkey.
No.
It didn't take much convincing. I was like, why don't we do steaks? And everyone was on board. So we did steaks, and
It was great.
it was nice, kind of a chill Thanksgiving. We had your family came in the week before, and we didn't really do Thanksgiving, but we hung out with family before Thanksgiving, and then just sort of just laid low. So it was very nice.
It felt like Thanksgiving Eve, like when they were here. Just it was like, oh, it's be with family and everything. And then the day of, we're just like, you know what? Let's just have steak. But like everything else can be Thanksgiving.
Oh yeah, mashed potatoes and stuffing and
Yeah.
pies. Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
like turkey is fine, but I feel like there's a ceiling on turkey.
Yeah,
There's a lot more work to turkey,
for sure.
and steak is much better. And it's not like it doesn't take as long to fix. And I was just like, let's just do that. So it worked out better. But
It was fine.
one of these
liked
years,
it.
though, I'm gonna fry a turkey. Though I want to do that.
Okay.
I've had fried turkey. I've never done it, but I have had it. It is very good.
All right. I'm done with whatever,
Yeah. It's so easy to dry out, but I feel like we'll do that. But
Yeah.
yeah, so we have some catching up on some news to talk about,
Sure do.
including something's going on with Muppet Vision 3D, which I believe I was correct on.
Yeah, and this yeah, well yeah.
And
Yeah.
some other things going on with things that Disney announced at D23. I've hit some snags. We'll talk about that. And then our discussion is we're going to have a new, which we might make this a regular segment. We're going to see what you guys think about this, but Disney Reddit stories.
Yeah.
So we got this idea because Jamie loves listening to shows that have like Reddit stories.
I've gotten into the habit of it, and it's like a thing I do when I'm working. I'll just have it on and I'll just listen. I mean, it's essentially like just another like podcast, but it's very, I don't know, it's very interesting.
You mean you don't listen to just our podcast only on repeat?
I mean, I do love listening.
That's all I listen
to
to.
us a lot.
I hear me and I go, I agree with that guy a lot.
Wow.
That guy's got some really good points.
Wow.
To be honest,
Right,
actually,
so
once we record, I don't like other than
having to edit.
editing or like making clips. I don't listen back. I don't mind listening to myself now. I used to hate it. Like when we first
Yeah.
started, I cringed when I'd hear myself talk, but maybe I've just become accustomed to hearing myself talk.
Well, I don't listen to our show unless I'm editing or if I'm going back and like trying to find a specific spot where I said something. So if anybody has like a question of what episode to listen to or something like that.
Yeah.
But other than that, no, I don't go back and listen.
It's a
but
strange thing because I think most people don't like the sound of their own voice when they hear it. I remember when I was
don't.
younger, I hated it.
Yeah.
But maybe, I don't know. Either I've gotten better at talking or my brain's just like, this is what it is.
You talk good.
I don't know, but my brain's just like,
Talk
we're not
good.
going to get any better. It is what it is. Here you go. So I've accepted it. But
But anyway, so we're doing Disney Reddit stories, which we're pulling some of these from Reddit, and then some are actually going to be like Facebook posts that you could have put on Reddit. So we're just going to do a couple today, though.
yeah,
Just check it out.
we'll
and see
test
how
it
it
out,
is.
see how it goes. But before we do that, just want to remind everybody, if you're watching us on YouTube or if you're not and you'd like to watch us on YouTube, please check us out at CTM Podcast. If you are watching us there, please like this video and subscribe to the channel if you would not mind there. And of course, you're listening on good old trusty audio podcast form that has been around, I believe. I may be wrong, but I'm pretty sure it's been around since 1732, somewhere around there. It's been a long time, so it's
That's
old,
a
reliable.
year.
Yeah, you can subscribe on whatever platform you listen on, and if you would do that, please subscribe there and just leave us a review. We'd greatly appreciate that. It helps us continue to grow the show. And of course, it is, it's after Thanksgiving. Everybody's buying Christmas presents. Lots of sales going on. We're no different. In fact, it's I've been printing shirts for, I believe, 5 days straight now.
We are in the smack dab in the middle of the busiest week of the year.
It's very busy. So
Yes.
if you would like to keep me even more in the garage to print shirts, you can get some shirts from us at a really good discount. So what we're going to do here, so we've got 25% off until Friday for you. So we're going to extend Black Friday for you guys. Not for everybody necessarily, but for the listeners here. We're going to extend that to Black Friday. Use the promo code Black Friday. You're going to get 25% off. And again, we print all our shirts in-house. We use the comfiest shirts you can find. Next level comfort color. If you want sweatshirts, hoodies, whatever you want, we can print on that. We got some new designs and some old favorites in there as well. And for a limited time, we've never done this. If you spend $50 or more, you will get a free mystery shirt. So So it's like a grab bag. So it'll be something from the collection that we'll send your way. So if you spend at least $50, you can get a free mystery shirt, and you can also use the promo code Black Friday and get yourself a 25% discount, which is the steepest discount we will do. I don't think we've done anything beyond that. So even if you're a Club 32 member, you have the same discount for a period of time. But if you are a Club 32 member, you get that all the time. But again, if you want to check that out, you can go to ctmapparelco.com, use the promo code Black Friday, get 25% off. And if you spend $50 or more, you get a free mystery shirt. So go check it out. ctmapparelco.com is where you go for that. So, all right, well, let's get into the first news story that we have, which is didn't come as a shock to me. Might come as a shock to others, and a lot of people are probably upset about this. But Muppet Vision 3D is going to make way for the Monsters, Inc. land that was announced at D23 this year.
Yeah, so it was confirmed last week. It was before Thanksgiving.
I think it was like the day before Thanksgiving.
Yeah, Muppets Courtyard will become Monstropolis, essentially. We had talked about for many episodes, we had talked about kind of where we think Monsters Inc. land would go, because when they announced it at D23, they did not tell us where. The concept art showed a possibility of two places, either Muppets area, like they're going to do, or over at an Animation Courtyard. I was under the belief that it was Animation Courtyard. I thought that would be a great place for it. But it looks like, obviously they went with the Muppets area. And they did what I thought they were going to do, was kind of push it out into the parking lot to make it bigger. So like the flying roller coaster, flying doors roller coaster.
Hanging doors.
Sorry, hanging. Well, flying, hanging. Okay, whatever.
Similar.
Anyway, that roller coaster will be at the very back of the land. So right now there's just like it's just like a big gate door, like blocking off. You can't get back there. Mm-hmm. But it's on the other side of it is just the parking lot. So they're just going to push that back, build that factory, like the Laugh Factory, and put the roller coaster in there. So I think it's a good idea.
Now, I felt all along it was going here. I think like they were dropping breadcrumbs the entire time. And the main reason being is Animation Courtyard does make a lot of sense. But like I said before, behind there, you've got a bunch of admin buildings that they would have to tear down, build somewhere else before they could even construct the land. And then when they also announced that the Little Mermaid show was coming back in that same area, I was just like, I don't see them doing that here. Plus, it would have to go back quite a bit further. So I always figured it was Muppet Vision 3D was going to go away, which we'll talk about the Muppet stuff, because it is still going to have a presence in the park. Yeah. So we'll talk about that. But I feel like that it's a high traffic area. And even if you like Muppet Vision 3D, and really too, like it was the last project Jim Henson worked on, so it does have a lot of historical, like pop culture relevance, and it is something people enjoy, but it is a high traffic area, so I always figured that was probably where they would put it. I think they always wanted to put it here, but I think when the fan backlash kind of happened, I think they I think what they ended up doing with Muppets was not the original plan, I'll put it that way. And I guess we'll talk about it now. So Muppet Vision 3D is going away. Disney did say they've digitized the film, and they will look for, quote, opportunities to bring it back in some way. And so the Jim Henson Company as well alluded to the same thing. They put out a statement, and it said, we look forward to the future of Muppet Vision 3D in whatever iteration it's in. Yeah. So they've opened it up to it coming back in some way, but the Muppets are going to take over Rock and Roller Coaster. Yeah.
It's basically, they said they're teaming up with some of music's biggest stars for a Rockin' Music Festival, and that's supposed to be Electric Mayhem, which I'm not really familiar with that, to be honest, but it is part of like the Muppet lore. So yeah, no more Aerosmith.
But they are, with them taking over Rock and Roller Coaster, they are going to bring back the Muppet gift shop back there as well. So that entire area back there right now is probably going to become a Muppet area. Oh. Now, what I think could end up happening is, you've got where the Lightning McQueen Racing Academy currently was, and now where that villain show is going to go. There is a chance that they could move Muppet Vision 3D into that building after the villain show's run its course and bring it back there, and then turn that entire area into a sort of Muppets area.
And we're thinking they'll stop doing the show once Villain's Land opens.
That's like 2030 or beyond.
I mean, it's a couple of years, and they could just sit on the
It'll be
show.
A while for that. So I think that eventually could where it ends up. Some people speculated they could put it on like Disney Plus, which they could also do that. Mm-hmm. But I guess we just come to, what do you think about all that combined.
All of what they announced.
Yeah, taking out Muppet Vision,
Oh.
Monsters Inc., and then moving Muppets over into Rock and Roller Coaster.
So I'm, okay. I'm not a fan of Muppets per se. Like, I think they're fine. They're entertaining, but I don't have a strong connection to them. I don't have like a nostalgic connection to them. So I would have been okay no matter where they put this. They could put this here. They could put this in Animation Courtyard. It didn't really matter to me. But I am excited to see, like, they're going to put a new show into where the Muppet Vision 3D is right now. So there'll be a new show going in there. They're also going to take out Mama Melrose, which I hear is not a very good restaurant. Like, it's okay. But put in Harryhausen's, which is a like Japanese steakhouse style restaurant
Like
from the
sushi
movie
and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that's going to be really cool. I would love to experience that. And of course the roller coaster. Like, I'm so excited about this land. It'll be great. I think it's way more relevant than the Muppets. So I think it's appropriate to do this. However, I don't particularly like them replacing stuff. Like, why can't we just add on? You know what I mean? Like, why are we taking out attractions when we can just add to it? That's Hollywood Studios' biggest problem is that, like, they have all these like shows and they have a few big attractions and they just don't have a lot to absorb the crowds. And I think that taking away Muppet Vision 3D, but we're getting another show and a roller coaster is good. I think we could why don't we just add to it, man? You know what I mean?
I agree. I'm in the same boat with, I enjoy the Muppets. As a kid, I liked it more. So I agree. It doesn't have a ton of relevance now. They really haven't been able to make Muppets work since Jim Henson died. And really that's been part of it as well. But I do agree. Like, I think on some level, it's a decent compromise if you're a Muppets fan that you still have a Muppets presence in the park. You're going to have the gift shop back there. And then potentially, I say potentially, I think they should, but who knows what they end up doing. You could get Muppet Vision 3D back there and kind of move Muppets Courtyard. So I agree. I think Monsters Inc. Land itself looks really cool. I'm not against it at all, but I agree completely with you in that everything except for Villains Land that they announced is replacing something that people enjoy on some level that Disney does. Disney has space. They could expand the park, and they are expanding the Monsters Inc. area to some degree. But I agree. Every time Disney makes an announcement now, people are sitting there going,
okay, what are we losing?
Like, where's it going? And that was the first thing people said. So while I do think like a Cars attraction, I think that makes a lot of sense. I think a Monsters Inc. Land makes a lot of sense. I just don't like that they're replacing things that they're replacing. And like, you could add these things into the parks to actually increase capacity, and instead of sort of exchanging it here. So, but that's just kind of how Disney tends to do it because it's cheaper. Developing land is expensive, especially in Florida, and like they're going to develop Villains Land, so that one is going to have land developed, but you're not going to see that one for a while because they do have to develop that land. They got to deal with a bunch of other stuff, which we'll talk about in a minute. But yeah, it's sort of just a double-edged sword there where I do think it's an upgrade for that area, but you could have added there, you could have put this somewhere else where you didn't have to take something else out.
Yeah, and I don't care either way what they do with Rock and Roller Coaster. I can't ride that anymore. I can't go upside down. So that doesn't matter to me.
I agree. Well, and I think taking out Aerosmith from there is, you're not going to get a lot of negative feedback because Aerosmith, I mean, they're retired now. I think Steven Tyler's voice is done. So it's not like, like I said, it's a decent compromise if you are a Muppets fan, considering I don't believe that the initial plan was for Muppets to replace Rock and Roller Coaster when they announced Monsters Inc. Land, because they would have announced that at D23.
You would think.
I think that they saw the backlash, and that this was coming after or around the same time, like, people were upset about Rivers of America being taken away and Frontierland changing for the car stuff. And I think they did this. They probably delayed where they were going to say this is going to go for this reason. So I think the people speaking out did have some effect. I think that is true. And I think anytime you're not happy, you should speak out. But given current Disney, this is just the way they're going to go about things, unfortunately. But I suppose, again, if you're a Muppets fan, at least you still have a presence for the Muppets in the parks. But now, I don't know when. Did they say a timeline when this is going to start, like construction-wise or anything like that?
Not that I know of.
See, and this is and we'll get into the next story here, which is talking about there has been a delay on the permit for Rivers of America.
Right.
So Disney, as of yesterday, had 10 days because the state basically said they needed to change the permit filing to start construction here. And then they got to do some environmental studies. They needed to change the type of permit it was, and then they had 10 days. So Disney, as of today, requested an extension on that permit. So that's being delayed for sure.
Right. Haven't started on that.
And who knows the timeline of that one? How long? Because environmental studies can take you a month. It could take multiple months because it's connected to the wetlands with taking out the rivers. So I think there's delays everywhere. And then they even announced Dinosaur is going to stick around for 2025.
Yep, it is.
So
yep.
I think a lot of people were thinking Disney was going to be really motivated to get this stuff going quickly. And I've contended for a while. I don't think you're going to see most of this stuff 2028 and beyond, if I were to guess. I mean, we're going into 2025. Disney typically, if you look how long it takes for most things, 3 to 4 or 5 years for things. So I think these things are already hitting delays that before you even get into construction. So I think these things will happen. I know some people have speculated that they're not going to happen. I think they've made too much, of a big hoopla about what they were bringing and made it a point that these things were going to happen.
Yep.
The only one that I think you could see some changes to would be the cars area, because if they do hit those issues with those permits, they're going to have to change their initial plans with it. Yeah. But it seems like already we're seeing some delays on the things that they had announced. But the biggest one, I think the news this week was just given that Muppet Vision 3D is going away. So if you want to go there, I'm guessing you're probably going to have plenty of time in the early part of 2025 for sure.
So I think they're going to start on it sometime in 2025.
Would you assume they would start in the back though? I would assume they would start with the taking out the parking lot, adding the coaster stuff. So.
That makes the most sense. I think right now it's just cast member parking back there. Yeah. So they would just have to relocate that. But yeah.
So that's where it stands with all the stuff happening with Disney in terms of new attractions. So not off to the best start in the world there, I would say, if you're looking forward to those things. But as those things develop, we will continue to update them, of course. And being related to some of the things they announced at D23, there are some semi-firm dates for when new attraction shows and parades will debut next year. And some of those details Jamie will talk about here.
Yeah, I will. So I'm going to start going in order of when things will be opening or starting in 2025. This one's confusing, so I'm not sure. But the first one is Zootopia Better Together, which is supposed to replace It's Tough to Be a Bug in Animal Kingdom. So it's be like an all new 4D production. And I think you're supposed to sing along with it and everything. But they did say it would start in winter of 2025, which is like very, very soon. So have they already been working on this?
It's possible, but it's at the same time, it's a show in there. So I don't think there's as much stuff to change out as like a ride.
I guess.
Other than they do have animatronics in there.
Yeah.
But I'm imagining the new show is not going to have animatronics.
But is it winter 2025 or is it in the beginning of this year or is it at the end of 2025?
I would say toward the end of 2025.
See, that's what I was confused on. I was like, is it first or is it last? I don't know. Anyway, they just said winter 2025. So take that as you will. The next one they said is Spaceship Earth Lounge. That's going in Epcot. That'll be late spring. So probably sometime in May or early June, I would think. Mm-hmm. And that's supposed to be like overlooking the park and you can see the fireworks and everything. That'll look really cool. And then the Disney Villains show, which is now called Disney Villains Unfairly Ever After. That's going to Hollywood Studios and that will start this summer. And we got some more information about it, just a little bit. Quote, the most fiendish of foes, Cruella de Vil, Captain Hook, and Maleficent, break through the glass to take center stage and captivate you with performances full of witty humor and mischievous charm. You may even get a glimpse of a few more of your favorites through the magical mirrors as dozens of the most infamous evildoers try to join in the delightfully diabolical fun, end quote.
Okay.
So there you go. There's a little more information about that show. And then The Little Mermaid, a musical adventure, will start this summer. This was delayed. This was supposed to open this past fall, and obviously it was delayed. But we know a little bit more about it. That everything's going to be new, basically. New lasers.
Laser beams.
New puppets. I don't know if they're using animatronics or anything.
I doubt it.
I know.
Not with a show. I think this probably can be like the Nemo show.
Yeah.
Would be my guess.
Yeah. But we do know that we will hear some songs like Under the Sea and Part of Your World. But also, we're going to be hearing Daughters of Triton and Kiss the Girl.
Okay.
which weren't in the original show. So that's kind of exciting. And then Disney Starlight Dream the Night Away Parade, that's the official name, is going to be starting in summer. And that is the nighttime parade that they announced at D23. And it's basically for I understand, it's basically the Blue Fairy is guiding this parade, like from Pinocchio. So you see like this magical, like everything is like bluish and purple, and Moana and Kanto, Peter Pan, Frozen, like, franchises like that. Test Track presented by General Motors will be opening late summer. Pirates of the Caribbean Inspired Tavern is going to be opening late 2025. So look for that to open in December. Just kidding, but seriously.
I mean, probably.
I mean, the construction photos of that, it looks like, they're still very, very far away. But it does have 2 levels.
True.
So that's interesting.
Yeah.
And then, as Jared already mentioned, Dinosaur is going to stick around throughout 2025 before it closes to make way for Indiana Jones and over in Dinoland. So, that's cool.
I mean, okay, I'm not like the parades and stuff like that. Like, we knew and figured before they even announced that was what they were going to do in the summer to compete with Epic Universe, which is completely what they're doing, at least on some level. Now, I don't think this is going to be enough to. I don't think most people are going to be like, oh, well, let's go check out shows and parades. But it very much is things that like the Disney audience has wanted for a while. A nighttime parade is something that people have been asking for years now. So again, this is why I say competition is good, because competition has forced them to do this, to listen to what people want. I wish they would listen to their audience a bit more. Like we said earlier, quit taking things away when you have the luxury of space.
Right.
I mean, this is a thing that Disney has an advantage over, especially as they compete more with Universal. They have this distinct advantage of they're the size of Manhattan. They're their own city, but they operate as if they're constricted. But again, it's a cost thing. So I think I don't know if it's a habit. It's just purely about cost. I think that's really what it comes down to. But the fact that they are, all these things were announced is purely because of competition from Universal. I mean, let's be completely honest here. One of these things may have happened eventually, but not all of these things that once they announced were going to happen, because they just wanted to do it. They felt like they've got to do this. But it'll be curious this next summer. I think, Disney has said that they think that they're going to see a boost from Epic Universe. If you look historically, when the Wizarding World stuff opened, Disney saw a slight decline when those, and then eventually things ramped back up when they had more things open. So I think you're likely looking at a similar scenario. But let's say the economy does loosen up and people have more discretionary income. They could also see a boom just from that, as could Universal, because Universal is for sure going to have an increase in attendance. I guess the question is that going to translate to Disney? There's a lot of debate there. A lot of people think it will. I'm not so sure, given that Universal is going after trying to get people to stay for like a whole week now, versus Universal's typically been a 1 to 2 day add-on trip to your Disney vacation. So that'll be something to kind of keep an eye on how that ends up shaking out for 2025. But I think at the very least, the shows, the lounges, I think the lounges are a good idea. I think it's something people enjoy, the lounges. It doesn't, obviously, they're having them open by 2025. It doesn't take them that long to do these.
I'm kind of excited about those, because nothing is being taken away. It's just isn't adding to it. And so I'm really excited about those. And I'm excited for a place to just like sit.
Well, especially Magic Kingdom. Now, these are going to be very busy. I imagine it's going to be very hard. But a Pirates-themed bar, again, it's an easy win idea.
Heck yes.
I mean, and so like the lounge in Epcot, like that's not a bad idea. Like these are existing structures that they're just converting into lounges.
Right.
So I think that's a good idea. I would love to see a Haunted Mansion one. You've seen on the Disney cruise lines.
Yeah, the cruise line's getting it. Yeah.
I mean, that would be something I think would be a big hit. So
yeah.
And Disney likes to do, they look at that as, that obviously is direct revenue. It's a bar, it's a lounge. So I think Disney will probably do a lot of those. But when it comes to the attractions, again, I would just say I would be, I have patience on those. I don't think they're going to come anytime soon here, but there is stuff coming. And obviously, I think the nighttime parade sounds cool. And obviously they know how to do these things. Right. Test Track, I mean, it's Test Track. I mean, they can change it up, but I don't know how much different it's going to be than the original one. But yeah, so I guess that's sort of the status of most of the things coming, except for the fact that they did also announced that the Disney Lakeside Lodge is opening in 2027, which was formerly going to be.
Jared, it's Lake Shore Lodge.
Oh, sorry,
sir.
Lake Shore.
I know it's confusing because there's a lot of lakes and lodges in these words.
It's true.
That we're using.
My apologies.
Lake Shore Lodge,
Which used to be Reflections, which was the
Disney Lakeside Lodge.
Yeah, it was an on-site rehab center.
So we have Wilderness Lodge, Fort Wilderness, and Lakeside Lodge. So are we going to get confused? Are people going to be
probably
confusing this a lot? Because that's a lot of the
considering
same words.
They're not far from each other either.
They're pretty close.
That's another thing too.
Yeah.
So this is a DVC resort.
Yes, the resort.
Yeah. So again, it was going to be called Reflections.
Yeah.
Construction has started. We knew permits were being filed. They knew they would do something here because they extended that permit to do something with this space because
they've been actively working on it and didn't say a word for a while. We're like, okay.
Yeah. But I will say, do we need more DVC resorts? Because I would argue, I think what Disney could really benefit from is a new, different type of value resort. Like much in the way of Surfside, Dockside Inn that Universal has, where it's not motel style, it's hotel style that can, eat up a lot more people, offer it at a discounted rate. I think that would be very successful, but Disney is going to continue to tap into DVC a lot.
DVC is a huge moneymaker for them.
It is.
Yeah.
But the thing is, there's been so many new DVC resorts that have opened up the past, especially 5-6 years.
Yeah. What was so the last one that opened was Riviera, right? Was it the last one?
Well, you've got that. You got the addition to Polynesian that they're opening up. Then you've got this one.
Opens in like less than 2 weeks.
Supposedly. Yeah. I haven't checked on the construction of it, but
I'm just a lot of concerns. Like they're going to be down to the wire on that one because, oh my gosh. Like we don't have menus for like the restaurants. We don't like.
I'm not going to be surprised if it's delayed till early 2025. I mean, and I've talked about
I don't know if they'll do that. I think the rooms are ready. I think everything else is kind of.
Yeah.
I think
they could.
I think that's what they'll do.
I mean, I've said my issues that putting that in at Polynesian, I think, messes up the vibe of that entire resort and how's it going to crowd up everything else. But
yeah.
I really wish they would do another type of not DVC resort. That is something, especially with Disney having, and I think rightfully so, being criticized about pricing people out.
Yeah.
At least trying to, on its face, show like, hey, we're opening up a new resort, a new hotel for you to stay at a discounted price, like a cheaper price.
Well, and not only that is they host so many groups and so many like sports like events going on throughout the year that those value hotels take up a lot of space with those groups that come in. So let's do like another value because make more space for like actual like guests that aren't coming in for that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, so there's something to be said for that. There's something to be said for more moderates. I mean, we stay in a lot of moderates and sometimes, they can be spread out. Sometimes they're together. But I mean, there's a lot of appeal, like you said, in the price, like a little bit lower price if you can't pay for the deluxe, like keep them on property, even if they can't spend the kind of money that like, a deluxe or even like a higher DVC is. I don't know. I would prefer a moderate or value thrown in there, please.
I think it was something people would enjoy. I think it would help them not seem so greedy about only going after the highest tier of people. And I feel like Disney for a long time has just figured they're going to charge whoever's going to come through those gates or stay at the resort as much money as they can, and not even thinking about, okay, well, what if you didn't charge as much? Hear me out, Disney. You don't charge as much right off the bat. And then those people might spend money on, say, food, merchandise, experience, like things that will make them feel good about their trip. And then, again, hear me out, Disney, want to come back. Mm-hmm. Like a lot of it, I think, is people, a lot of it, a vacation is how you feel. And if you feel nickel and dime, you feel like, man, I saw an article the other day, someone talked about they spent a ton of money to stay at the Polynesian and they were very disappointed.
Ooh.
And some of it, obviously, that's opinion. It can vary per person, but at least at how people feel about their trip is going to determine if they want to come back.
Right.
And I just feel like that would be something you could do as a good press maneuver and say, hey, we hear you. You know, we're building a new value resort. You know, we're not going to increase prices across the board every year to try and get more out. You know, things like that I think are very short-sighted. I don't know. I think it'd be something people would enjoy, and I think it would actually do Disney good in terms of their image to actually seem like they're giving people something that's not just going to be, you know, the most expensive thing that you can ever imagine to charge people.
Yep.
Just my take, though.
Okay.
They probably won't listen to it, but we'll see. All right. Well, and speaking of very expensive things that only a few people can afford at Disney, Lightning Lane Premier Pass has been expanded to include all Disney Resort hotel guests now.
Yeah. It was previously only available to deluxe and DVC resort guests. A couple of days during Thanksgiving week actually sold out. Sold out of that pass. So, you know, up until when did they release it? When did they start it? A couple of weeks ago?
I think
a month
it was
ago,
October, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was October.
Yeah.
So they had told us, or they had announced that this is in like a quote unquote beta version. They're just testing it out, see how it goes. So I think the whole plan was to always release it to everybody, but I think they just wanted to see how it performed with just deluxe. But I mean, it is a possible. I mean, I don't know. I personally, I think there's a lot to be said for some, you know, a family, let's say, comes in and they decide to save money on the accommodation. So maybe they choose value in order to do a Premier Pass like this.
I made that argument when they announced it. I think there's a lot of people that instead of, you know, you're already paying a ton of money to stay at a deluxe hotel, and then only those people can then buy this ultimate expensive pass to do, where there's a lot of people that perhaps, now, listen, we're never going to buy Premier Pass. I think it's insane at that price. And I just, it's not something that I think is almost on principle for me. I'm just not going to do it. But there are people, and I understand it, like you say, hey, you know, let's save money in the hotel, but let's splurge. Maybe it's a special occasion. Let's get the Premier Pass and just be able to go to the parks and not have to book stuff for their phones and like have an easier trip. And yeah, I think it makes a lot more sense to open it up to everybody else that can. Now, I also think they opened it up just to deluxe. I don't think it was probably selling that well, perhaps, because I don't think you would then open this up to everybody if it was already selling well on just the deluxe side of things.
Yeah.
So it's a bigger
I
pool.
agree.
Now, there's still a lot of questions. We have no idea how many of these they're available per day.
Nope, they won't share that.
And
obviously.
I don't, you know, I'm curious how this is impacting the lines, especially during, you know, the busy, you know, we knew going into the fourth quarter it's going to be a busy time of year for them. Yeah. It's selling out on some days. You know, how does it look in the parks with that? That's a lot of questions with it, but yeah, I mean, now you can get it if you stay. Now you still can't get it if you're not staying at a Disney resort. And
there's like Shades of Green and Swan and Dolphin are included in that as well, but
which those are Disney resorts ish kind of, yeah.
But also, I didn't put this on the show notes, but the Lightning Lane multi-pass for Christmas Eve has reached $39 a person.
Yeah.
For Magic Kingdom.
I mean,
that's the ceiling.
Well, I've said we've talked before. I mean, how high can you go with this?
I mean,
I think Disney's going to try and find out. But.
So that's a good question, because we actually talked about this when Genie Plus was starting back in 2021, and I did a poll for poll time, and one of the questions was how much would you spend for Genie Plus, or I think I even asked Lightning Lane later the same question, and $50. That was the ceiling. I think eventually Disney is going to make their way to that $50 a day ceiling.
Oh, I agree.
I don't think we're far off from it either. I think we might see 50 by next year.
Well, and they're doing a lot of things, in my opinion, trying to boost their revenue in the short term too. So it makes a lot of sense for, like, if you look at the financial report from the last quarter or the fiscal one for the whole year, attendance was rather flat, but they had increased revenue just due to charging more. So I don't know how long that trend can hold, especially with more competition. But I think this is something that they're kind of doing is trying to reach and figure out where can they make more money here, where can they make more money there. But like I said, I think it's short-sighted on a lot of that stuff. But when you really like zoom out and look at it, and again, like we've talked about, it's not that long ago when you look at the ticket prices, and they were expensive, but it included, Fast Pass and all those things, which you were paying for, just included in the price of your ticket. So not only is the price of a ticket now almost, up to going to be in 2025, almost $200 per day at Magic Kingdom. That's before you add on, your Lightning Lane multipass. So not only has the ticket price gone up, but the thing that you used to get included with that ticket price is now taken away, and you have to pay even more. So if you actually look at that combined, the ticket prices are wildly more expensive than they were. So it's just that like slow frog, like boiling frog scenario where at some point, I do believe it does get too hot for people. In terms of now, obviously, if these things that they announced at D23 open up, and in my opinion, they increase the maintenance and get back to doing things how they used to do them, I think that people, likely their people are still paying it. But I do think going forward, it's just sort of like, how high does this go? And at what point do many or a large swath of people just be like, I'm tapped out. I'm not, we're not going back this year. Maybe next year. Maybe they just don't go back as much. And those things eventually, I think Disney will feel. But like I said, I think going into the next year, it's going to be a very interesting time period for Disney with Universal having Epic Universe open and them having a lot of the, 3 out of the 4 parks under construction during that time period. How do they fare in all this? I'm not claiming to know the answers. I have a lot of questions. It'll be really interesting to watch it and to see, like, if it's not going well, what does Disney do then?
Right.
Those types of things. But all right. Well, the last story that we have before we get into our Disney Reddit stories is that Disney also announced that Destination D23 will be in Disney World for 2025.
Yep, it's come back. This will take place at Coronado Springs from August 29th through 31st, 2025. The event is doubling in size from the previous one. We've got a lot of room, got a lot of things to talk about. There'll be presentations, behind-the-scenes stories, sneak peeks, guest appearances, shopping experiences, and more. So last year, we saw teasers for the new Encanto stuff and Animal Kingdom and Indiana Jones stuff. The Test Track Reimagination, I believe, was announced then. And we got a teaser for Beyond Big Thunder. No, like anything concrete, but we did get a whiff of it during the.
This isn't the same thing that they do at Anaheim, right?
This is not the D23 Expo that they did this past year. No, this is different. This is like what they do in the middle, like in the year between or whatever.
It's like the Olympics every other year.
Kind of, yeah. But tickets will go on sale for this spring, I believe. And it'll start, obviously D23 members, but gold members get get first dibs on those. So there you go. If you're a Disney Worlder, then it'll be right at home.
Yeah, I don't imagine they're going to have major announcements. It's probably showing you updates on the things that they're working on, to be my guess.
You're probably right. I would say so.
We shall see, though.
We shall see.
But I think that is going to be it for the news. I think we're finally caught up on everything.
Hopefully.
There will be new news tomorrow, I'm sure.
News.
As it typically tends to go. So, do you have a poll time?
I do.
Okay. But before we get to the Reddit stories, Jamie does have a poll time.
Poll time.
It's poll time. Tell us what you think. Every opinion counts. Come on and link. We're discussing it all. We're taking a stance. Poll time's the segment. Let's give it a chance.
All right. This poll time this week was Battle of the Seasons. Which time of year do you enjoy visiting Disney World the most? 48% said Christmas. Half of ya. 17% said the spring. 15% said fall and Halloween. 14% said winter, like January and February. 4% said summer. So nobody likes going in the
Bunch
summer.
of masochists there at 4%.
Yeah. And then 2% said they did not have a preference. So Christmas wins. Huzzah.
I mean, it's not surprising.
Not surprised at all.
Not only is Christmas better, it's a great holiday, but it's fantastic weather. In terms of it's not humid,
sure.
It's cooler,
I mean, yeah, it is busy. It's busy during Christmas time, but come in the first part of November or first part of December, and it's not as bad.
You can find pockets.
That's
also why I like the beginning of the year too. January and February are nice for that reason as well.
Yeah. But yeah, so I was happy to see this because Christmas is also my favorite. So, well, thank you everybody for participating in the poll this week. I don't know how many more poll times we'll do. We'll see how it goes. We might do the Reddit story thing, but I will probably have another one next week toward the end of the year, and then we'll see about January.
We'll just say they're intermittent.
As we come to
Yeah,
them.
as they arise instead of forcing them.
I mean, we've been doing this for what, like, how long have we been doing poll time? Like 5 years?
Pretty sure it's been 17 years.
17 years.
If
So anyway.
my calculations are correct, which I'm pretty sure they are. But if you want to be a part of the 18th year of Poll Time, you can you can join in the polls by joining the Capture the Magic Facebook community, or you can also follow us on Instagram at Captain Magic, as Jamie posts us in the stories. So you should follow us and subscribe, whatever, on both of those platforms. Either way.
Either way.
And I think I'm going to revamp, at least make a presence and have a Discord, because I do think going forward, it can be a home base for not only for the podcast, for like the YouTube stuff, because I just think Facebook is losing functionality as we keep going, and I think Discord is a good option there. Not that we're not going to abandon Facebook or anything, but I do think that will probably be a place to just add in there. So that'll start being thrown into the mix as well. So when we do that, Jamie will probably post those in there also. So
All right.
check that out. But yeah. So, all right. Well, let's move on to our discussion segment, which is Reddit stories and Facebook posts. So this is one of my favorite things to do, which is read something and then immediately judge it and give an opinion on it.
This is why we're doing this, Jared.
I like snap reactions.
This is your bread and butter, bro.
I thoroughly enjoy snap reactions. Yeah.
I'm excited about this. So we had actually talked about this.
Nope, we didn't.
Oh, well, fine.
I'm kidding. We did. I just want to make it seem like we didn't.
So yeah, so we talked about this. I don't know, last month sometime, and we're just like, that'd be kind of fun, like just to talk about people's trips or questions they have or situations they got into and that aren't our own, obviously, and just kind of, like you said, judge them at face value.
Harshly. Or not, I don't know. We're doing two today. One is pulled from a Facebook group. I'm not going to say which one, and another one is pulled from the Reddit thread Walt Disney World. So yeah. Okay. You want me to read these, or do you want to read them? Do you how about I read them, because you speak a lot about your feelings in your opinion. I feel like I'm being judged by my own wife. Yes, I am judging you, and I'm judging these people. Judgments. Let's be honest, everybody. Yeah. Everybody makes judgments, okay? Let's not act like we don't. Okay. So obviously, I'm going to keep these anonymous. I'm not going to say who it's from on these Facebook posts or Reddit. But here is the first one from It was me.
Here's the first one from Facebook. It says, I feel like I'm in way over my head with this trip, and honestly, I'm having deep regret. It was a spur of the moment booking, and now we're off site and attending the park on 3 of the busiest days ever, December 20th through 23rd. Oof. Staying off site, we won't have access to the 7+ day planning with the lightning lanes. So with 3 days and early closure of Magic Kingdom on one of the days, how much are we going to get done? I'm really wanting to enjoy rides and have my 5-year-old do everything he's tall enough for, 45 inches tall, which is most rides. I'm a Disney World rookie, although I've been twice, once as a child and once not as a mom, so I didn't care much, and have been reading countless hours of advice in this group. Am I just wasting our time, money, and energy for these dates? What do you think?
Well, I think if you've never been, or it's been a while, if you're like a rookie in terms of how it is now, and you chose December 20th to 23rd, that is basically like jumping into the deep end of the pool, and you don't know how to swim. Like, it's just,
with
you're
no
jumping
life jacket.
Right into the thick of it. So it's not that you can't go and enjoy yourself. A lot of with Disney and in any trip, it just comes down to your expectations. So if you want to ride everything your 5-year-old can ride, you're not going to be able to do that. More than likely. Yeah. I mean, you're at least at the expectation being, I would tier what you like. What rides do you want to ride? What are your must do's? What are the ones you would like to get to? I tell people this all the time. Like, have, if anything, in your head of like, here's the must do's we have to have. Here are the things that we would like to do. Yeah. But you can be a little flexible in your trip. But this is also the problem that goes in with Disney, is it's so difficult it's not a park or a place you can just pop into and be like, oh, let's go check it out. Because if you do that, more than likely, I mean, you can find pockets where it's just not very crowded. You might get lucky, but for the most part, if it's busy, like that can be a bad time because it's busy. You've got to deal with the crowds. You don't know how to navigate the lightning lanes, or if you do get the lightning lanes, you didn't get the 7-day, window there. Not much is available. Long lines. Like there's just a lot of things that can lead you to having a bad time, especially if your expectations were. I remember how this was when I went even 5 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if I would say wasting their time, money, and energy. I would say, personally speaking, I would advise go at a different time on the same, but like it's going to be cheaper if you go to a different time too. It's most expensive during Christmas.
So I agree with what you said. I think that managing expectations is number one here. It looks like she said she's been reading countless hours of advice in this group. I think going outside of Facebook and actually looking at, watch some YouTube videos. I hear Jared's got good stuff going on over at Capture the Magic or Cap the Magic.
To be fair, on that channel, I do not go into like tips for the parks.
That was just my silly way.
I know.
Okay.
I would say listen to our podcast.
Yeah.
But, obviously,
right.
I'll send her a letter. But
I would say listen up on podcasts, watch like vlogs. You can watch like POVs of the rides. There's so much content out there about strategies of how to navigate the parks when they're busy. So even though you can't do the 7-day ahead of time planning, like with being an on-site guest because you're off-site, you can still utilize those, the days, basically the 3 days that you have. You can plan as much, as you can, especially like the beginning, the very early part of the day and the later part of the day. The middle part of the days are going to be just crazy busy. And as long as you know that, as long as you can compete, be like, okay, we're going to rope drop and we're going to be there at close with just like a break in the middle or something. That would be like my strategy probably. Especially if you're not going to get the rides you think you're going to get. You're going to have to do those at the beginning and the end of the day. I mean, if you don't want to wait that
And she said early closer of Magic Kingdom, which probably is going to be a party day. That can actually be a good time to go to Magic Kingdom because a lot of people won't go on party days.
I would say that is a great point. Now that I think that's the one she's talking about is the last party of the year, like of the season. So it'll still be busy.
I agreed. I'm just saying.
But you're right. That's
it'll
your
probably
best
be
strategy.
the least amount of crowds you would deal with in that time period at Magic Kingdom. I mean, Magic Kingdom will be the worst park to deal with.
Yeah.
And that's the park that is the most fitting for a 5-year-old.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I would say try and shows and stuff like that. Like it just comes down to expectations.
And like you were saying, like make a list of like what the big stuff that you want to do. Like, okay, let's give your son like a list of, how old is he, 5? Okay. Well, maybe, have him look at like, again, POV videos on YouTube or something of the rides and see like, okay, which ones do you want to do? You can have 3 that will, those will be our must do's. And if you get those 3 and you have time or you have, whatever, that's great. And then you get more done. But I think 3 or even maybe 4 or 5, I don't know what your number is, but like even that is a good strategy to stick with. Just get those like the main 3 done or main 4 done or whatever. And then everything else is just gravy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I also think unless you're just determined to go around Christmas, like
can you
move it to January, February, find a pocket in there where it's way less crowded. And you can,
I wonder if she's just set with those dates.
It could be. If you're flexible on the dates, like I would say, I would move it because it'll be cheaper. You'll have to deal with less crowds and you can get more stuff done.
Yeah.
That's what I would probably say, unless you have to go during that time.
Right. And then, now in the future, like if you're going to go back and do this again, now to plan farther ahead and try maybe staying on site because it's a little bit easier, especially with small children. But obviously it's very doable to do this trip. It's just manage expectations.
Yeah.
Basically.
That's a lot
and
of
strategize.
Yeah.
Strategize.
Yeah.
So that's our advice.
Agreed.
All right. So the second one we're going to read is from Reddit. And I'm going to change a word that they use frequently in these little, in these Reddit threads. Am I the jerk for going to Disney over a funeral?
Oh, man. Buckle in.
Buckle in. All right.
I love
so
these. Am I the jerk? Because
it's gonna be jerk. I'm gonna say jerk. I'm not
Usually they
gonna
go,
say,
"Am I the jerk?" Yeah. Usually you are.
Yeah, you probably are. All right. So, am I the jerk for going to a funeral or to Disney over a funeral? Okay. Some friends and I have been planning a Disney day for months and purchased tickets as of September this year. Some of the friends have been out of state for school, and overall, we haven't met up in a while. A relative of my mother has passed away, and the funeral burial service is the same day as the trip. There will be a memorial service the day before, and I plan on attending the service. I may not have been close with the relative, but it'll be a shame on you moment if my relatives were to hear of my Disney day. Disney has a strict no refund policy for tickets, but my sister believes I'm in the wrong for still planning on going. But my friend, not part of the trip, says it's not as bad as it seems, considering it wasn't planned. It was already planned deliberately on the date. I know passing away isn't something you can plan out. So am I the jerk for still going on the trip?
A relative of your mother.
Yeah. So is it your relative too?
Right. I mean, I would assume that might mean an aunt.
Maybe great aunt or something.
It would depend on how close, you know what I mean? Like if you're not very close to this person, like if you're,
it's tricky.
I don't think, okay, in this situation, I actually don't think you're a jerk if you go, because if you are going to go to the memorial service, but just not the burial, I mean, I don't think that's terrible to choose to do that, to be quite honest. And especially given like there's no refund policy, and it's obviously a totally different scenario if like it's your mom or your dad or your brother, like somebody very, very close. But given it's like a relative that you weren't really close with, you haven't spoken to in a while, like, you know, it's still family. You're still making a presence to go. I don't necessarily think you're the jerk in this scenario.
Right.
Yeah, shockingly enough, I go against what I normally say. I don't necessarily think they're being the jerk here. Now, I don't think I would post on social media about going.
Probably
Maybe don't
not.
tell people you're going. Like if your sister's against it, just I guess she could know. But I personally wouldn't make a big like, oh, here's my Disney day, like on social media. I would just keep quiet about it.
Someone said, depends on who the relative is. You should talk to your mother and ask for her opinion. Funerals are the time to say goodbye to a loved one and support those who have suffered a loss. Some people feel very strongly about family and friends being there to honor the life of a person who has passed. Some people understand that life continues for other people and not everyone will be able to be there. So I think that's your first step, is figure out like, okay, how is it important for your mother for you to be there? Like, does she need your support during this funeral? Because she did say she's going to the service,
right?
The
like
day
she's still
before.
making a presence to
So
go.
she will be there, but just not the funeral. And not, I mean, not everybody can make funerals. Like people, there's always stuff going on. I think she's just wanting to know if like if she's gonna feel really guilty for going to Disney during this. You know, it's tricky depending on how close you are to the relative, I guess.
Yeah,
for sure.
I mean, it probably wouldn't be a bad idea to just like be open and communicate about it. Probably not a bad idea. And if it's going to cause a huge riff or like, you know, the last thing you want is like a bunch of family drama and stuff like that. So if it's going to cause like a giant issue with your family, like you're going to be dealing with for months and years later, like I don't think it'd probably be worth it for that. I would just I would just, eat the cost of it or something like that. And sometimes if you call Disney, they can do things for you if you're nice and tell them your circumstance. Like there's a potential chance that they could be understanding about it. Yeah. I mean, I think if you did go, and if you're going to go to the memorial site, I don't necessarily think that's like a horrible thing to do.
I mean, I think it's because it's a like vacation thing.
Right.
I think if she had said, I have a work function I have to be at, no one would bat an eye.
Right.
I think it's because this is something fun that she's doing. She's like, well, she's having fun while we're over here at the burial.
Right.
Like kind of thing. And I don't know if that's what her family is like saying or anything. But yeah, someone said here, what are you going to remember in 10, 20, 30 years? Will you remember the day with your friends, or will you remember missing the funeral? If you're not that close to the relative and you plan to give your respects at the memorial, I think it's perfectly fine to go to Disney. You just don't post a ton of pictures and rub it in their faces. If you are really close to the relative and you'll regret not being there, then go to the funeral.
Yeah.
That's simply said.
I agree. I
Yeah.
mean, the only thing I would add, again, if it's going to cause a giant rift, like, I don't think it would be worth it then. Just because that family drama it's bad enough if it's going to be something that detrimental on that end of things. But
yeah, I mean that's always that kind of hard stuff. But yeah. So I think not the jerk. I think go to Disney, and if your mom is cool with it,
I would. Yeah,
and if you're not close,
agreed.
So.
All right, we have one more we're gonna do here.
One more. All right, this is from the same Reddit thread. It says, "Am I the jerk for not wanting to go on a trip to Disney World with my family?" It says, "I, 21 female, have a 2-year-old son with my fiance, 22 male, and his grandparents are really pushing a trip to Disney World this year or next year. Here's a few issues as to why I think it's a bad idea. They told us we need to save at least $2,000 for the trip. Well, what they don't realize is we are 2 young adults trying to live in this world today, and it's hard, and that $2K is not really in the budget. Not only that, I really do think it's a waste of money to go when our son won't remember it. I feel waiting till he's older is so much smarter. When we picked out a hotel, picking the cheapest, it got shut down because there was a terrible view from the rooms. We don't really care about the view. We will only be using the room to sleep. But the main reason I don't want to go is because everyone wants to fly. I have only flown in a plane once and I hated it. And honestly, the thought of bringing my son on a plane is very nerve-wracking because I know for a fact I will be stuck with the crying and screaming on the plane because my fiance gets impatient very quickly and I'm not good in public situations. Public embarrassment is the literal worst for me. When we brought this to their attention, my fiance blurts out, well, she doesn't want to fly. And that really hurt my feelings because I wish he would have had me back and taken my feelings into consideration with this. I cannot help the fact I'm scared of flying, and now I'm worried I will be blamed for the trip getting canceled. Am I the jerk?
Well, I mean,
there's a lot of issues.
Your fiance could be a little bit more like I feel like as a husband, not that I have everything right, but we've been married for.
You do everything right, Jared.
That's true. I do everything right.
Where's your trophy? Where's your trophy and your gold star?
I keep it back here behind me.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I think you take into consideration, even if you don't fully understand it, although I guess they're not married. So I was like, especially in our situation, like you're my wife, so I'm going to take your side and stick up for you and say, even if I don't understand it, just be like, hey, we're not comfortable doing it that way for, they don't have to know the details. Now, when it comes down to the cost, like, if you can't afford it, you can't afford it.
Right.
Like a vacation is an extra thing that you do. And if it's going to put you in a financial bind, then no.
Right.
Like, and if people don't understand that, then that's on them.
Sure.
Especially if they're the ones proposing the trip and like you're feeling pressured to go. You're not going to have fun on a trip. I've said before, it's like if you can't afford to go when you're out there spending money, every time you're doing something, you're just going to be worried. So maybe I would say, hey, why? And especially if they don't want to take their son when he's real little. Now, I would argue you can still, like, your son may not remember it, but you have great memories with your kids. Like, we have tons of memories with our kids when they were really little at the parks and stuff. But, be like, hey, we can't afford it right now. And if they don't understand that, first off, that's on them. But second, be like, hey, why don't we plan this out for a couple of years from now? And then you can have time to save up for it.
Yeah.
And something like that. So I think, I mean, although I'm one of the people, the way I'm wired is like, if you get offended by my logic and reasoning, when I have in my eyes a valid logic and reasoning, that's on you, not on me.
Right.
So I wouldn't lose sleep over personally. Now, I know you're wired a little bit different than me, although you've taken on a little bit of my stances over the years, I think. But that's just how I would say it. I'd be like, if it's going to be bad for your family, like when you're a family, you take care of your family unit first.
Yes.
So just because the grandparents want to do something, that's great. Now, if they wanted to pay for the whole thing, that's a different conversation. But you take care of your family unit first. If it doesn't work for your unit, then you don't do it.
Exactly. I mean, like if they're pressuring you to do this and they're like, if we got to plan this, we got to do this. Just if you don't want to go, just be like, we can't go this time. Thanks for thinking of us, but maybe in the future.
Yeah.
That's really all that would need to be said. It should be at least. But your fiance needs to have your back more because, well, she doesn't want to fly. Be like, so that's the only reason? She just listed 10 reasons she didn't want to go, and that you picked that one because it was on her.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, like,
yeah.
there was no support there. But
Yeah.
also too, like, if it's a matter of finances, say, like, I mean, you can book up till the end of next year, and whenever they come up with the packages for 2026, you can even book even farther out from there. So, like, start saving your money little by little, and then say, like, hey, we can't go this year, but let's revisit it maybe in a year, and we can start saving some money and do that. Or if your grandparents really want you to take the trip and they're really pushing for it and they want this and this and they're very particular, they can pay for it.
Well, I was going to say, you could say that. I mean, it's also, too, your
You know what I mean?
grandparents, like, as you get older,
Yes.
like, they're not as around, they're going to be around forever.
The
But
pressure, though, I don't understand the pressure
agreed.
of
That's
it.
where you just have to be like, listen, like, we love you guys. We want to go. We want to do something, but it just doesn't work for us right now in our our circumstance.
Right.
If they then say, hey, we can help out more, we'll pay for it, then that's different. And then if you're talking about the flying versus driving thing, I mean, that's, you can drive.
You can absolutely drive. We
You
don't
know.
know where they live, obviously,
Yeah.
but
It's not like there's a bulk discount on tickets for airlines anyways. So you could always do something a little bit different there. But
Yep.
yeah, I mean,
there's a lot of reasons to postpone this trip, and flying and driving finances, and your son will be older. Those are the main ones, I think.
yeah. Again, I would.
So-
I'm the type of person. If you decide something that's best for your family, then that's just it.
Yep,
Like, and if they don't understand it, that's on them. And
for sure.
it's unfortunate if that happens, but at the same time, it's like, I wouldn't advise putting yourself in a bad financial spot because you're trying to make people happy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You're not the jerk, my lady.
Agreed.
Agreed.
All right, is that all the red stories we got?
That's all we're gonna do today.
Okay. I like
That's
that.
kinda fun.
That's fun.
That's kinda
Yeah,
fun.
let us know if you guys enjoy those.
I like to harshly judge people I don't know on the internet.
Yeah. And I'm
I'm
nice.
just kidding, I
See, I'm
don't.
nice. I think everybody was like, Jared's going to be a jerk about this.
No.
I'm only a jerk sometimes about things.
See, it's one of those things where you see something written out, like a whole thing, like most of these scenarios, or you're like, okay, you just need an outside perspective to tell you, like, here is what you should do. Because sometimes it's just, there's so many things going in your head. You're like, I don't know.
Yeah, you're in it and you've got all the emotions and you feel like sometimes, that's why I wouldn't advise personally going to Reddit for life advice. But, somebody else that can look at something from a different perspective is not a bad thing. It's just I wouldn't always take advice from everybody else around you all the time. I'm very selective on who I listen to about things. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
But, yeah, I think this could be fun. Yeah, let us know. Again, let us either in the Facebook group, Capture the Magic Community, or email us at hello@CTM Show. If you enjoy this, we can do more of these. Or if you have ones that you want us to do, you can send us the links to the stories or whatever. And we
Yep.
can always do them on the show. So,
Absolutely.
but yeah, I enjoyed that.
That was fun.
And you can kind of learn a little bit about, like, I'm sure some of these are like trip planning issues and stuff. So
That's too. You can also learn for sure. You
yeah.
can learn.
So well, I think that will do it for the show. So
All right.
thank you everybody for listening and or watching. Be sure to follow us on social media. It's at Captain Magic everywhere. Now we changed it even on TikTok at Captain Magic everywhere, including the YouTube channel. If you want to catch, I have daily videos, sometimes 2 videos a day about theme parks, pop culture, whatever. Disney World, Universal Studios is very heavy on there. It's about the latest things there going on with the news. So you can catch that at Captain Magic. And of course, you want to watch video versions of the show and show clips and reels and shorts, whatever it is. You can go over at YouTube as well at CTM Podcast and subscribe over there to check out the video versions of the show. And also be sure to check out some of the other shows we have on the Capture the Magic Network. We have the CTM Universal show where we talk about Universal Studios, and we will have a new episode there on Monday. And especially as Epic Universe gets closer, we'll talk more and more about that. And then that will become a weekly show once Epic Universe opens, because there will be a deluge of information there to talk about.
Listen to that word.
Good word, right?
Deluge.
I read dictionaries sometimes. And then Jamie also has Trip Tales, which is her trip report
Tales.
show. And when's the next one there coming out?
Couple weeks.
Okay.
A teaser. She went to Tokyo.
Oh.
This is a Tokyo Disney episode, so that'll be very, very fun.
Did she ride the Forbidden Splash Mountain?
She's currently still on the trip.
Oh, my
so
goodness.
I'll have to look.
She has to sign a disclaimer to write that out here to come back. And of course, if you want even more content, you want to contribute to the show, you want to interact with us a little bit more, be part of a great community, have meetups, you get 25% off of CTM apparel and 1901 Candle Company products. You can go join Club 32. So if Club 33 is a little bit out of your price range, if you don't have $50,000 laying around, you can join Club 32. $6, $7 per month. You can also do an annual plan where you get a free t-shirt included as well and save some money there. Plus you get all the perks we just talked about there. Plus you have additional content like Cool Kids Kitchen. We have we're working on a new show coming up, The Clubhouse, which will be coming up very soon. Then we have the weekly live stream where we hang out, the Club 32 show every Tuesday. We hang out and chat with everybody. We didn't this past week because overwhelmed with shirts and orders and things like that.
Too much going
and
on.
half our house has been sick, so we're just a lot of stuff going on. But typically on Tuesdays we hang out and chat with everybody, and a lot of additional content. It's a great place if you want to ask questions about trips, as everybody in that group goes to the parks quite a bit. And then we have 2 meetups a year now going on, so we have one coming up in January as well. So if you want to do that, you can join there. So if you want to join, you go to ctmvip.com. We have monthly or yearly options, like I said, and it's a great group. If you would like to join, we'd love to have you. And that'll do it for the show. So thank you, everybody, for listening and or watching. And thank you, Jamie, for joining us.
Thank you.
And as Jamie always likes to say,
We will see you in the parks.
bye.